Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, MP for Suame and Majority Leader. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Bernard. And thank you for having me.
So our analysis is that for a majority leader to add his voice to the advocacy against aspects of the debt exchange is very significant, and it was something you did not do lightly. So what's the background? Why did you decide to come out to speak against the inclusion of individual bondholders in the exchange?
My position is that if individual bondholders must be included, we need to have greater dialogue on the matter. The people who came before us all recognize the fact that we are in difficult times as a nation. What ached some of them, or what ached them, was the fact that there was virtually no consultation. So they were kept in the dark. So my plea was that government should be much more engaging. We should recognize, as I said, that no government has pleasure or takes pleasure in inflicting difficulties or hardships on the citizenry. We must also recognize that we are in difficult times and we need to conquer the turbulence together in order for us to be able to get ashore safely. So I'm aware that some kind of discussions went on behind the curtain. But from what information that we had from the individual bondholders, they coming from the other side were saying that bluntly that they were not consulted. So it means that whatever consultation that might have gone on was not deep enough or broad enough. And that was at the pith of my plea that government should, all of us in government should be much more consultative. We should also recognize, as Ghanaians, and let's be pragmatic, that in these matters, the construction is also must be in play, because the longer the process delays, the greater the risk of people maybe pulling out investment through the window. You want to go through the front door to have these consultations and negotiations, and behind the curtains, people are pulling out their investment. So that is also another, the flip side of it. So it's really a difficult process for all of us. Notwithstanding, as I stressed, nothing really can also take the place of consultation. What is significant about this is the fact that, as I indicated, the bondholders, most of them, I would even venture to say that about 90-95% of them belong to the middle class. And if it should happen the way it's being done, it really may impose some difficulties on the middle class. Some of them nearing retirement age, depending on the yield of these investments, to pay for medication, to pay for school fees of kids, children, grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So it may really inflict some difficulties. So what is the best way about it? Some suggestions are being floated. For instance, government has come out to say that not much pension money. Some others are suggesting that, yes, even with the pension money, there are some of them who may not be falling on their pensions immediately. Maybe they may be falling on the pension 10, 12, 15 years from now. For those of them whose time may be due in the immediate future, 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years from now, you may not be able to touch their pension. But for those of them whose pension, the gestation period is longer from now, then perhaps we could find a way to also introduce them and avail some funding to government for stabilizing the shape of state. So these are matters that all of us will have a greater future.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation. But there's a view that with individual and household bondholders having just about 13% of government debt, and as you rightly pointed out, they being middle class people, these are people who can fight for themselves. And that the larger group of poor people who are part of, as you said, pensions, collective investment schemes, and mutual funds, because they don't have enough money to individually go and get their own bonds, they are the ones who ought to be getting the attention of the majority leader or people who are against the in aspect of the deal. And how come it's rather this small group of 13% of government debt that has attracted your attention? Because individual bondholders are generally, as you said, middle class people. They can do their own class action lawsuits. So it's rather the poor farmer, the teacher, those who are collectively part of schemes that don't have a voice that ought to have attracted your intervention, not this group.
This group it was that approached us. I'm not really sure by what you are saying that we should have waved them aside and told them that, oh, out there, there's a larger group, so we're here with you. I'm not really sure that is the response that you wanted from us. But they are the people who came before us. And I'm just saying, if you listen to me, I said that I'm talking about when we engage them. I said that this whole business, I think we should reflect. That is about the debt exchange and see the best approach to adopt. The Honorable Atufo Singh brought the experiences that Jamaica and Greece bring to bear. So I was really relating to the generality of it, that this whole exercise, maybe we should be a bit more reflective on it to determine for ourselves the best way forward. So it was an all-inclusive matter that I raised, even though the individual bondholders were the ones who approached us last Friday.
Fair enough. Is there a concern that the decision to include the individual bondholders could be an attempt by some people managing the process to emasculate or to reduce the influence of some individual bondholders who are considered politically powerful? I mean, my colleague Richard Sky was making the point that some of them feel that it was a cynical decision to include them because the president was very clear in his announcement to us a month back that they would not be included. So some people feel that it was a belated attempt to get at specific individuals because, of course, the person managing the process would know who has which bond and what the person's value is. Did your group consider that in your as you listen to them?
I don't know of the cynicism that government is supposedly introducing to this. When you say to me that some are saying that it's a cynical attempt to include otherwise powerful individuals. Look, there are some members of parliament who are deeply in this. But we are not raising the matter as members of parliament, right? So it's cross-cutting. And I'll respectfully implore you to let us cut out, politics from this. It is about lives. It is about livelihood. So let's look at it that way, rather than introducing unnecessary politicalization of this matter. It will not be helpful. Let's look at it with clear eyes, with a clear conscience, and cut out the politics.
But to the extent that the domestic debt exchange is almost a prerequisite for the IMF deal, and looking at the fact that today being the 16th, we are not sure if we've even crossed the 40%, not even 50% threshold. The government has not told us. Doesn't your intervention jeopardize the whole process? Because I know your intervention was very clear about the individual bondholders, but there's a view that the thing is not gaining traction, and bringing the individual bondholders in was an attempt to increase the percentage that government would get, so they can then get the bond approval. So by a significant person like you coming in to say no, don't include these guys, is there not a risk of jeopardizing the whole IMF process, which is really the objective, at least if the Minister of Finance is to be believed, of this process?
I'm not too sure that you really listened to me, because you are bold in your declaration that I said that we should not include individual bondholders. It was not the pivotal consideration or submission that I made. What I said was that if they have to be included, let's pause and reflect and engage.
Okay, I think that's an important distinction. Maybe I misheard you. Thank you. So you are saying that if they will be included, then we must engage again to look at the implications and not just move as if the business as usual.
That's exactly what I said, because as I said from the very outset, we're in a democracy, and what concerns all of us should be decided on by all of us. Let's get the buy-in of the people. That was at the center of it. I was not emphatic in saying that let's not include them.
Okay.
That was not what
I thank you for the clarification.
Let's be much more engaging.
Yes. But if I interpret that to still mean a spanner in the works, that will not be too wrong, because the deadline is today. The people came to you on Friday. Today is the next working day. So obviously,
which is what issue that I even spoke about when we met. That it's about late. I mean, maybe this thing ought to have come. Attention ought to have been drawn to this much earlier. Notwithstanding, better late than never. If there is any window of opportunity that could be explored, why not?
Okay. And again, pardon me for the initial misinterpretation. I probably got carried away because your chief whip also made similar comments, and indeed, he tweeted at us. So if I am permitted to read, Honorable Frank Anodom from his verified account tweeted on the 14th that the finance minister / ministry must, at a matter of urgency, review ASAP its decision and resolution on individual bondholders. I don't agree with them, and I think it's unfair and untenable. Review your decision now, with an exclamation mark. And then he tweets at Joy FM and Citi FM. So maybe we sort of included all of that. Is Anodom Prayer on his own? I know you've explained what you are saying, but you are the majority leader, he's the majority whip. So if the media assumes that the leadership of MPP in Parliament is not happy with the inclusion of individual bondholders, we cannot be faulted too much.
I guess we can speak to the chief whip on this. Not knowing the background and the backdrop of his own conversation, I wouldn't want to jump onto it. But like you're speaking with me, you speak to the issue that I raised when we met that. They had indicated to come to me, and I got the soundbite that they had also informed the minority leader. So when they came to me, the minority leader had asked the Honorable Amma Kofi-Boah to represent him, later joined by the ranking person for finance. But then there was a whole train of the minority group with them. So even though it was the leadership of Parliament they were coming to see, it ended up that about 10 or so of the minority group followed them into my office. So they came to me as the majority leader. And my colleague, the minority leader, also flanked me. But he happened to be in Somalia at the time, which was why at least the two of them had to join me. But others also joined. But I spoke to the leader at the time of the House, because the invitation to us was that Parliament was to assist them in addressing this matter. And I said at the time, I'll ferry it. Unfortunately, the speaker is not even in the system. I said I'll ferry it to the minister and the executive. Incidentally, the petition itself was addressed to the Minister of Finance and not even to Parliament. So I thought that perhaps they might have deposited a copy or the prime document with the Minister of Finance. Be that as it may, as I said, when I spoke for myself and for Parliament and assured them that upon reconvening, which is going to be this January 31st, we certainly would take the matter up to see what the steps that we could take to assist the system. So that's what I said to them. As for Allah and what you are telling me I'm not ready.
But if it is true that I will speak to him, but I just ask that if your chief whip is tweeting about such an important topic in such definitive terms, and obviously you are not aware that he put this tweet out, that is still a problem, right? Because if I'm a majority leader and my chief whip, who's supposed to really take a cue from me on some of these matters, is already in public blatantly opposing such an important government policy, it's a challenge, is it not? I mean, some would even say that could point to some lack of discipline within the front bench of the majority.
I don't want to go into that. What I know is that my chief whip, I think he called out together with the speaker for some conference that held in the Emirates. I don't even know whether he's back or not. But this is a very topical matter that maybe upon reflection he decides to put out something that I've not really read, and I don't also know the content and also the background of the whole submission. Okay. Not knowing that, I wouldn't want.
Fair enough. I have two final questions for you, sir. Thank you for your forbearance. First one is, was Parliament consulted at all about the DDE before it was announced?
In the lead up to the presentation of the budget, which is what the minister, I brought the minister to have some conversation about the direction that the budget was going to take. That had not even happened before in the life of Parliament that I have been in since 1997. It was an innovation that I was trying to engender, occasioned by especially where we are at the current circumstances. And I thought that from now on, the Minister of Finance will have to sit with Parliament and brief us about the broad contours of the anticipated budget, so that if there are any matters that we consider, Parliament considers critical, Parliament then would open up to the Minister to allow him the opportunity to talk to those matters and possibly to include them if they are not already in the budget. So we had this maiden meeting at Ofori-Atta before the budget came to be consummated and then later on presented on behalf of the President. There were broad discussions. The details were not known to us at the time, but some consultations went on as to where exactly we are as a nation. I'm not too sure that this matter came up for discussion. Maybe the broad strokes were mentioned, but not the details as we are getting to know now, honestly.
All right. And finally, there is a view that even in government, there are a lot of significant people in government, in the EMT, who disagree with the approach of the Ministry of Finance in the DDE. Is this something you can confirm?
First of all, I'm not in the EMT. And second, as cabinet, we swear oaths of secrecy. You don't expect me to divulge whatever happens in cabinet to us.
No, not the individual positions. Just that, for example, is cabinet in concert in support of this?
I'm saying to you that in cabinet, we swear oaths of secrecy. So we don't throw in any bait.
Oh no, but we know that the oath of secrecy means that, but cabinet also communicates its decisions. So even though there's an oath of secrecy, that is on the basis of So what I'm saying that
from what cabinet the official position is. Beyond that, I don't speak as an individual or happening in cabinet with respect.
All right, thank you for talking to us. That was Honorable Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, MP for Suame, explaining the concern. I think I need to clarify that. So initially, because of the Anodompe tweet and the way we read his comment, I sort of went out to say he opposes, but he's basically saying Senyo's group and Eduanani and all the other, they came to him and the leadership of Parliament, and they came to say, look, this is going to be inimical to us. And they say government should pause and talk to the people and include their views before they proceed. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as saying he blatantly opposes it, which is why I brought the Anodompe point in. Anodompe is basically saying it's not right. And I needed to point out that, Sky, you can confirm this for me. I mean, the leader of our Parliament, a majority leader and his chief whip must sing from the same hymn sheet. There's no law that says they can't have individual views on a matter. But for something as sensitive for the government like this, for the chief whip to be so clear, review your decision now with an exclamation mark. He's literally shouting. So I'm sure I can be pardoned